Hello all, and welcome back to Fun Food and Games. We're here tonight to finish off the three-parter for Burn. This time, it's Modern Burn. Every time I say Burn, I just want to be like, Kelso! I don't know why. I guess I watched too many episodes of that 70s show. Even though I haven't watched the show in years now, it's still, every time I hear Burn, I just think Kelso. It's become synonymous. I hate it, but here we are. So anyways, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to be, like I said, discussing Modern Burn, Kelso, and we're going to go ahead and get on started off with everything. So, first up, we have 17 mountains in the deck. 17, that's right, just regular mountains, nothing special, just a mountain is all you get. Mountain. After the mountains, 17 of them in fact, we have 3 Castle Embereth. Castle Embereth is a land, and when it enters the battlefield, it will enter tapped unless you control the mountain. As you know, one of my pet peeves, the land has to enter untapped. Castle Embereth just barely makes it there. But anyways, you can tap it to add 1 red to your mana pool, and for a colorless and 2 red, you can tap it, and creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of turn. Nothing crazy, but when you run out of gas in your hand and you've got a few creatures on the board, Castle Embereth will get you a couple extra points in there, so it's worth it. All right, on with the rest of the deck. So first up, we have 4 Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide is for 1 red mana. You're going to get a 2/2 Goblin Scout creature with haste, and whenever Goblin Guide attacks, defending player reveals the top card of his or her library, and if it's a land card, that player puts it into his or her hand. Goblin Guide, I think you have seen the end of your days. You are about to be replaced with Ragavan, the little nimble pilferer monkey dude, who just came out in MH2. I think you're going to be replacing Goblin Guide. So keep a lookout for that. And if you want to update your decks, one of these 4 different creatures I'm going to show you can be swapped out for Ragavan, just depending on if you want to spend an extra $400 to have a playset of Ragavan. So next up, we have 2 Grim Lavamancer. Grim Lavamancer is for 1 red. You're going to get a 1/1 human wizard. And for a red, you can tap him and exile 2 cards from your graveyard. And Grim Lavamancer will do 2 damage to any target. Again, when you run out of gas and you've got tons of cards in your graveyard from either casting instants or sorceries or your creatures being removed, Grim Lavamancer is there to help you out. All right, we're also running 4 copies of Monastery Swiftspear. Monastery Swiftspear, for a red, you get a human monk 1/2 with haste and prowess. And prowess is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, your creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I would keep Monastery Swiftspear over Goblin Guide, just because giving them the card advantage and all of that Goblin Guide gives with them looking for a land, I would cut Goblin Guide before Monastery Swiftspear. Also wanted to point out that the Goblin Guide and the Monastery Swiftspear easily go into your legacy builds as well. As I mentioned with the other decks, these 3 burn decks all tying together between Pauper, Legacy, and Modern. A lot of these cards share each other. So by completing these decks, you kind of have 3 almost ready to go by just completing one of them. All right. So next up, we have my favorite again, the Vexing Devil. I know a lot of people don't like the Vexing Devil for whatever reason, but I do. And Vexing Devil is for 1 mana, you get a 4/3 creature devil, and whenever Vexing Devil enters the battlefield, any opponent may pay 4 life, and if that player does, you sacrifice Vexing Devil. So while Vexing Devil, comes with its own built-in removal, still, the way I always compare it is the standard of Lightning Bolts. It deals 3 points of damage for 1 red mana. It is a winner. All right, next up we have Bedlam Reveler. Bedlam Reveler, 4 of them in fact, for 2 red. And if it'll focus here, maybe not. For 2 red and 6 colors, you get a Devil Whore, and Bedlam Reveler costs 1 less to cast for each instant sorcery card in your graveyard. It too has prowess, and again, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And when Bedlam Reveler enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. That's one of the best things about Bedlam Reveler, is allowing you to draw those extra cards. So yeah, Bedlam Reveler. Next up, we also have 4 Shrine of the Burning Rage. There we go. 4 Shrine of the Burning Rage is, well, you really want it. For 2 colorless mana, at the beginning of your upkeep, or whenever you cast a red spell, put a charge counter on Shrine of the Burning Rage. Then, for 3 mana, tapping it and sacrificing it, Shrine of the Burning Rage will deal damage equal to the number of charge counters equal to however many charge counters on to player or creature. So yeah, this guy can get built up pretty quick. I like Shrine. Shrine should be in your deck. Play it in Modern. Can't really go into Pauper, but Legacy, it can go into Legacy, but I think it's too slow for Legacy. So next up, we've got 4 Chain Lightnings. Chain Lightning, 1 red mana. You got Sorcery. Chain Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. Then that player or that permanent's controller may pay 2 red. If the player does, they may copy this spell and choose new targets for that copy. It's your secondary Lightning Bolt. Alright, we're also running 4 Light Up the Stage. 4 Light Up the Stage for 2 colorless and ready of a sorcery that has the ability to be cast for a Spectacle cost of 1 red mana, and Spectacle can be the cost whenever an opponent has lost life this turn. But anyways, Light Up the Stage, it actually exiles the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Again, you're going to be running out of a lot of gas as you cast your, 1-drop creatures and your 1-drop spells. Being able to refill the hand is going to help you out. Next up, for Rift Bolts. For 2 colorless and red, you have a sorcery, and Rift Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. And it has the ability to suspend for 1 turn. You can pay 1 red mana, and then at the beginning of your next upkeep, you can remove that time counter, and Rift Bolt will do that 3 damage to target creature or player. It's just another Lightning Bolt, like I said with the Chain Lightning. Speaking of Lightning Bolt, 4 Lightning Bolts. And again, these are the ones that look like the Chain Lightning. And I want the white border Christopher Rushes, but I leave those in just the Legacy deck. Or the Pauper deck. I can't remember which one I had them in. I think it was in the Pauper deck. And anyways, Lightning Bolt. For 1 red mana, you have an instant that deals 3 damage to any target. So everybody knows Lightning Bolt. Don't need to spend a lot of time on that. And the last 2 instants of the deck, Shard Volley. For 1 red mana, you have to also sacrifice a land to play the spell. But Shard Volley deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So remember Fire Blast, you had to sacrifice 2 mountains to do 4 points of damage. Well, this is just a, I don't want to say it's a little bit better or a little bit worse, because, you can cast Fire Blast just by sacrificing 2 tapped mountains. Shard Volley, you need 1 red, and you have to sacrifice a land. So, it's not quite Fire Blast, but it'll do in a pinch. So anyways, that completes the main board. Now we're going to talk about the sideboard. Now, depending on your meta, where you're playing at, your LGS, wherever you are, everybody's sideboard is going to need to be different. There are 2 key cards in multiples that I believe every modern burn deck should run. The first, Rolling Vortex. Rolling Vortex is 1 colorless and a red for an enchantment, and at the beginning of each player's upkeep, Rolling Vortex deals 1 damage to them. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast that spell, Rolling Vortex deals 5 damage to that player. And for the last little kicker on it, for 1 red mana, your opponents can't gain life this turn. So basically, any of the decks that want to cheat out stuff constantly, it doesn't matter which one it is, this one will hurt them. Any deck that wants to gain life, this one will hurt them. And not only that, you're not taking the turn off to do nothing, because each upkeep, it's going to hurt them. So carrying 4 Rolling Vortex in your sideboard, I believe, is a winner. And they're actually fairly cheap to pick up, so I'd go get them. All right, next up, the must-have in every single modern burn deck, Dragon's Claw. 4 of them. 4 of them. Because if you come up against the mirror, this will save you. Dragon's Claws for 2 colorless mana, you get an artifact, and whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain 1 life. When you come against the mirror, this will save your life and allow you to win. Make sure to keep 4 of them. As Alex learned in Loading Ready Run from Friday nights, secret tech for the mirror, you know. I'm sure hardly no one gets that joke. I'm crazy. No one watches Canadians like I do. I'm just one of the weird ones. All right, so next up, we have some cards that you can mix and match for your sideboard depending on, again, your meta, what your LGS is playing. But we have Ancient Grudge. For 1 colorless and a red, you get an instant to destroy a target artifact, and for a green, you can flash it back. No, we don't have any green in this. You know, you can run Smash to Smithereens, all kinds of other different things. Doesn't really matter. I just hadn't highlighted Ancient Grudge yet. I've spoken of Smash to Smithereens before, so I wanted to also show this one. Next up, Tormod's Crypt. For the Graveyard Hate. For 0 mana, you get an artifact that you can tap and sacrifice it and exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So Tormod's Crypt, and I kind of want to say it's an all-inclusive sideboard all the time thing, but depending on your meta, if you're not playing anybody that's playing any kind of graveyard recursion or anything like that, you don't need the Tormod's Crypt. So it just depends on your meta. You know, if you need the Tormod's Crypt, put it in your sideboard. Next up, Anger of the Gods also could be kind of one of the all-inclusive cards. For 2 red and 1 colorless, you have a sorcery, and Anger of the Gods deals 3 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile instead. So, you know, whenever you're up against your aggro, your merfolk, your elves, what have you, humans, having some Anger of the Gods, if you're seeing any of the tribes at your LGSs, but Anger of the Gods, not only that, but there's a lot of those creatures that are very annoying that even if you kill them, you know, what is it, the amalgamation, yeah, whatever that one is, you know, you kill them and exile them, be gone with them, you don't have to worry about them ever coming back. Speaking of never coming back, you can also run a couple copies of Grafdigger's Cage if you want to. For 1 colorless, you have an artifact wherein creature cards can't enter the battlefield from graveyards or libraries, and players can't cast cards in graveyards or libraries. So again, you know, this is depending on your meta. I'm trying to give you a lot of different options here, what you could go with. But Grafdigger's Cage is a good one to stop a lot of those. Speaking of shutting down a lot of people, Blood Moon. Have a couple of those in your sideboard. You know, even if you want to take it up to 3 even, I usually find that having a 2's enough, you know, mulligan down to try to find one if you're lucky. But I would never mulligan past 1 time to try to find the mulligan unless it was just, I don't know what deck I would really have to go crazy to search for the mulligans for the Blood Moon, but maybe Tron if I'm really having a problem with Tron. But or Wurza, there's lots of different ones now that, you know, the Blood Moon can really possibly see a good comeback now. So having a couple of those in your sideboard isn't a bad idea. There's a couple other cards, you know, that you could consider also. Ox of Agonas, now that Mill is starting to become relevant. Basically, you know, I believe it's 3 colorless and 2 red to cast the Ox, and when you do, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. It's kind of like Bedlam Reveler, and he also has the ability to escape. You can exile 8 cards, I believe it is, from your graveyard, and for 2 red mana, you can bring him back. So if you're up against Mill and you're seeing a lot of Mill in your meta, use Ox of Agonas. It'll help you out a lot. Besides that, no, don't really have a whole lot to add. Would like to give a shout out to Binging with Babish. It's a cooking show on YouTube. You can go check him out. He has a lot of great recipes. He's pretty entertaining. And, you know, if you like him, let him know I sent you there. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and we'll catch you next time.